Alright, y'all, bear with me. I'm gonna try to make this video as short as I possibly can while still saying what I need to say. As y'all know, I'm not a content creator. I only do videos like this when I just have inspiration to share some information or just, share recent revelations through my own little personal studies and journeys. But for about the past year, I've been reading a book. And I'm almost finished with it, but I've been reading a book called The Isis Thesis by Judy Kay King. Very, very, very interesting book. And it's wild because it actually kind of ties into a theory that I had, or kind of gives credence to my own personal theory that I had, that I actually spoke about in the first book that I wrote, Charities in the Fourth Dimension, a collection of thoughts and essays on God, the universe, and beyond. But basically, what Judy Kay King and her people have done in the Isis Thesis is they've examined the coffin text. For those who don't know what the coffin texts are, is that when pharaohs or folks were entombed at the time, or put in pharaohs coffins, they would actually put a text in there that was supposed to be instructions for the spirit or for the ka on what to do. You know what I'm saying? Once it transitioned from this physical realm. Now, what Judy Kay King and her people have done is they've examined those texts and they've cross-referenced those texts with modern-day scientific processes related to like cell division and DNA replication, and DNA repair and things of this nature. What they're seeing is they're seeing a parallel. Okay, one thing you have to understand is that Egyptian culture, they always use symbols to represent other things. That's what hieroglyphs, all this shit is. It's just symbols that they use to represent real life processes or real, thing. They use symbols in nature or different things that correlate certain principles. Excuse me. But what Judy Kay King and her people have done is they've cross-referenced those coffin texts with these processes, these scientific confirmed processes for, cell transmutation, DNA repair, and regeneration and things like that. And they're seeing that a lot of these symbols match a lot of the same information for modern day scientific processes. The reason why this is intriguing is, for one, a phrase, I'm paraphrasing, basically, I remember hearing years ago, they said, to the uneducated or the unlearned or just the ignorant folks who don't know any better, technology and information or advanced information can seem like magic or mysticism just because they don't have no bearing or any, understanding of the information being presented. For example, if you take a cell phone, a smartphone from today, and go back 200, 300 years before people even had phones, even had regular phones, even had the idea of a phone, and you showed them that, hey, I can show you pictures of people on the other part of the world or talk to people in the other part of the world, they would think that you was like a witch or a wizard or on some mystic shit. Because they don't have no process to really relate that to. They don't, and at that time they weren't as advanced in technology as we are. They'd even have the understanding of what they were viewing and the technologies at play. I keep that same thing in mind whenever I look at Egypt and ancient Kemet, because, as you know, even today there's processes and things we don't understand. As much information and knowledge as we have here today, there's still things we can't explain. We can't understand how were they able to do this? How were they able to get this precision with what we know about. Okay, there's things we don't know about, but based on what we know, and they back this year, how they know all this, how they, and that's some things that even like we talk about, like the Dogon tribe, is that there's, and this is one thing, this is an example where it's been proven where that's something that one time people took as just, that's some mythology or just some, that's their own little personal thing. Once modern technology caught up and looked back at this same information, says, oh no, this is actual scientific information that they were talking about in symbolic language to explain the process in symbolic language, but they knew what the hell they were talking about. This is actual accurate information that now we have technology and processes that can confirm that they knew what they were talking about back then. So I keep that same thought process in mind when I talk about the Egyptians in this Isis Thesis along with the coffin text, because basically what the coffin texts were supposed to do is be instructions for what the human soul process after its transition, you know what I'm saying, from the physical realm. And what it seems like is that the Egyptians actually had the death process down to a science, where they knew like the death process and what would happen with the body and the spirit and all of that shit. And that's what the coffin texts were, their way of trying to, in their understanding, or from their reason and logic, trying to put together instructions that the soul could, refer to travel in the afterlife, or travel to the afterlife. Because according to the coffin text, once you transition, you die, your soul can still roam on the earth, you know what I'm saying, for, a little time after you're dead, which is interesting because there are people who including myself, when my brother passed, who like shortly in like the days or the weeks afterwards had like things happen, you know what I'm saying? I honestly had I can get into it, but I had like a couple of days after my brother passed, I remember seeing him in what appeared to be a very lucid or astral dream, and he, spoke to me and told me he was okay. Now, that's not again all that, but there are a lot of people who've said things about, after somebody died, they still could feel their presence, or felt like there was something going on. Even with my sister even said something about, there was a light that something, even I'm not getting into all that, but bottom line, that's just not something that's a cross reference, okay? But anyway, back to the coffin text. They feel that after one dies, the soul can still roam the earth for a time. And at a certain time, I don't stay roaming the earth, but either of the time, you either transition and go to the afterlife, quote unquote, or you get thrown back in the regeneration cycle, they call reincarnation cycle. And basically what the coffin texts were directions on how to avoid coming back into the reincarnation cycle and to actually get to the afterworld or the afterlife or the other realm, so to speak, which I'm going to come back to on what the other, basically, the other realm. And basically the way this process worked, according to coffin text, is that you as a spirit had to find your way to like the Arctic area, where they have, where every year they have the Northern Lights. What Northern Lights is basically it's a phenomenon that happens when the Earth's axis is at a certain angle in relation to the sun, to where the solar rays and the solar winds from the sun interact with the Earth's atmosphere, creating what we call Northern Lights. But according to coffin text, during this time, this Northern Light periods, if a soul is in that area, the Arctic area, you gotta go be towards that northern axis of the earth, you can actually you during that northern light period transition out of the Earth's atmosphere. Transitioning out of the Earth's atmosphere, then the first thing they say is like, this is wild because you see different parallels. Like, I was talking about like, oh, don't walk into the light, or like that. That's in the coffin text. Is that once you come out of Earth's atmosphere, you'll see the sun, and don't go towards the sun. Go away from the sun. If you go towards the sun, it's going to throw you back into the reincarnation cycle, and you come back down here, reborn, you got to go through the whole process again. But if you come out through the northern lights time, through these solar winds, and you see the sun, you turn your back to the sun, go totally away from the opposite direction of the sun. What that's going to do, they say, is that it's going to allow the solar winds, it's a real thing. You can look up solar winds that, just, anyway. But basically at this point, the human soul, spirit, or whatever, will get carried through the solar winds, and it'll get carried out past the asteroid belt. Now, what this is also interesting, this I say where it comes in with like a theory I have based on information I understood, is that in Egyptian culture, there's always been a big reverence for the Sirius Star. And the Dogon people I mentioned earlier, one of the scientific things that people were able to prove is that these people had information about the Dogon star, as well as its density, and just information that at the time, because science didn't have that same information, they discounted it. They thought, oh, y'all just do symbols. They didn't understand the symbols or the language, so they just thought, oh, that was just some mythology or something like that. Until, like, I think within the last 100 years, our technology caught up with what our ancestors already knew to actually confirm that, hold on, the things that they were talking about are actually confirmed about the Sirius Star System, which boggles their mind because they still don't understand how did these ancient people know this detailed information about this star system without having, the satellites and telescopes and all the information that we do now. So again, I keep that same thought process in mind. We're talking about Egyptian culture with this. Okay, so through the process of the symbols that they use in the coffin text to explain what they're saying, Judy Kay King, or people are saying is that this is the death process is actually a process of DNA transmuting to another process. Now, back with Sirius, the 3 pyramids align with the 3 stars in Orion's belt, which actually point towards the Sirius star. Okay, almost like it's a map to get there, so to speak. Either that you can see on the planet or in the stars, and they align with the stars, and so you see, hey, we good. Then you follow this map to get to the Sirius planet, the Sirius star, which, like I said, Egyptians knew about as well as the Dogons. We predated the Egyptians. So, in my theory and how it connects with this is that I remember one time I had the opportunity to speak with a guy who worked with NATO. Dude had been working there for some years. And he just telling us about, some of the technologies and things that they've developed, they already have. Like he told me one thing, so, they currently right now have technology where they can send something, this material, I guess it's a type of metal material, they can program it. Like when they build, like, so something like things like space stations or things, they program it to where they send it up in space, basically on a, like a satellite or something. And once it reaches a certain temperature or a certain, because space is cold, once it reaches a certain temperature, it activates and will actually expand into a predetermined structure they've programmed. Which is wild to think that, well, you can program information to do that. But what I asked him, I said, hey, is it possible, since like energy and process, is it possible? Because I was kind of having my own little theory with the Sirius system and the Dogon and how they knew so much about it. And also because the Dogon people say that our ancestors, or we came from the Sirius star. And then what if, I was thinking, my theory is that, what if the quote unquote afterlife isn't really like it's actual physical place? It's just going back to Sirius. Well, what if that's really what it's all about? That, we come from Sirius to this planet, whatever. And when we die, we go back. Which actually makes sense, because, and the reason why I come back to the Judy Kay King, and I'm going to talk about scientific processes of cell repair, cell duplication, and cell division, things like that, because the process that explained in the symbols and things used in those coffin texts reflect processes for DNA replication and cell division and cell repair. And basically what that ties in with this is that basically they're saying that when you die, your DNA, your cells kind of like evaporate into the atmosphere, go into the atmosphere, but that's kind of like your essence is tied into that. Almost like the Egyptians knew that there's actual physical seat or process of the soul that transfers, and that it is tied into the DNA. And ultimately, in a nutshell, what happens is, through going through this Northern Lights process and the solar winds, everything, you basically teleport from here on the physical Earth to Sirius through that process, which makes sense even from the sci-fi perspective. Is if you watch like Star Trek, the process of how like they teleport from the ship down to a planet, in order to actually do that, and if you know anything about, so they're actually working on that, trying to look at the process of trying to teleport people and stuff like that. It's basically a process of DNA and cell division and repair, where basically the cell, like when you see on Star Trek, they scramble and they rescramble. That would basically, if that was a teleportation process, basically your cells would disfigure, dismember, be sent somewhere and reform. Okay, and that's why they're saying like, hey, this information aligns with technology or the process for like cell repair, cell division, cell transmutation, cell repair things. And basically, it's looking like the Egyptian ancestors knew that when you died, there was a way that you could literally teleport back to the origin, which was potentially Sirius. So I'm putting that out there. Just, you know what I'm saying, against this theory. It's my own theory combined with information from the Isis Thesis. And understand, my theory did not come from this book. My theory was already out there on my own, and finding the information in this book just kind of adds in with the theory. So, but again, it's the Isis Thesis by Judy Kay King, because I would love to have other people who are familiar with the book or read the book, or maybe want to read the book, and maybe be able to talk about it, and, you know, just share different thoughts and ideas. But that's all, man. I try to keep it concise as possible, man. Anyway, man, it is what it is, man. Be shit I'd be interested in, man, outside of making music and doing all that shit, man. But yeah, stay tuned, man. 2024, it's gonna be a lovely year, man. Hey, it is what it is, man. Let's keep shining, let's keep grinding, keep making it happen, man, while we got time here, man, you know. And that's all I gotta say, man. Peace out, man.